Yo, it's your boy Virtue, and about a month or two ago, I made a video dedicated to when Sasuke Uchiha truly surpassed the White Snake Sannin Orochimaru, in which I found the conclusion to be that not what many, including myself, expected. However, Sasuke being a nigh opposition figure to the Akatsuki and their goals, with him hunting Itachi and killing Deidara, to then him joining the Red Clouded Terrorist group, with him invading the Gokage summit under Obito's orders. Comparisons that would imply Pain, that he could have done better at the Kage summit, or how Kisame also tried to capture B. So when does Sasuke truly surpass each Akatsuki member? For this video, it's essentially like it sounds. I'll be analyzing each member's power and then comparing them to which form of Sasuke he would need to actually beat said Akatsuki member. The forms of Sasuke that will be in use are going to be in order from B5 MS Sasuke to Heavy Curse Mark Post Absorption Sasuke, 5 Kage Summit Sasuke, and then to end it off, EMS Sasuke. So now I won't really be talking about Jugo or Suigetsu or Jozu or Karin or Orochimaru, since Taka are all very similar in ability and they are all a part of Sasuke's team. So if you want an answer for that, 5 Kage Summit Sasuke would beat each member, and especially for like the later versions like Danzo fight, and and I have a whole video on Orochimaru, so just check that out if you want an answer for that, and Jozu's kind of filler. So yeah, let's hop straight in. To kick this video off, I figured why not just throw a few characters in at one spot, since they virtually do and die at the same spot. So I'm of course talking about Hidan and Konan. So starting with Hidan, let's be honest, B5 MS Sasuke should be more than enough to eliminate him. Just plain and simply put, if you want a more in-depth answer, Heavy Sasuke is implied narratively to be above Team 7 at the beginning of Shippuden, and in the Kakazu fight, Naruto beats him and still believes that he hasn't obtained Sasuke's level yet. So that's also, just only in reference to speed, because Naruto has no clue what technique Sasuke has or his strength at that point. So since Heavy Sasuke is so far above that, I would have trouble believing that Taka would lose, since it's implied that Heavy Sasuke is above B fight Sasuke due to him not yet recovering from his injuries. So since we know that Kakashi is commonly agreed to be the top Jonin, or at least above Asuma as the first data book implies, Sasuke should be above that Asuma who can react to Hidan's attacks and whatnot. Even if you be generous to Hidan and say that he starts in the ritual, Sasuke is almost always deathly serious in his heavy days, never really holding back in any encounters, such as with Deidara and stuff, just constantly trying to blitz him. So Sasuke just kind of slaughters. Moving quickly off that, also, Konan loses to Heavy Sasuke pretty straight up. Konan may be a more interesting of a fight than Hidan due to a few reasons, mainly her paper that allows her nigh intangibility and her flight ability. Now, whether you think that she's above Hidan or below Hidan is kind of irrelevant, since Konan should also just get blitzed, and she did get blitzed by Jiraiya's oil and base and whatnot. So we also know that the third data book states that Sasuke has speed surpassing the Akatsuki members, which it's kind of more likely just applied to these weaker members and doesn't really contradict anything. And we'll come back to that statement. So, Sasuke's Kirin or even a basics fire style should be enough to put Konan down as well. And honestly, his Amaterasu, which could contend with, Itachi and stuff, would just be too much. So B5 also goes for her. Now, for the first real match, we got Deidara. Well, and if we're being honest, we know that Heavy Sasuke already beat Deidara and would be enough. But it seems I've kind of had to talk about this quite a bit recently, but I'll go over it again here so you can understand how strong Heavy Sasuke is, since since we know that he fought Deidara. So when revisiting this fight, you may remember that it was an extreme diff fight. However, that's a truly common misconception, or at least conceptually it is. Well, what do I mean? Well, in terms of physical stats, Deidara is nowhere near Sasuke's level, and Sasuke is a blitz level above Deidara. Once they first encounter each other, Sasuke attempts to cut down Tobi, with Deidara standing just behind him, and once the sword moves through the body, he then begins to brace and stop himself, and then Deidara reacts via jumping back, meaning that during that whole distance that Sasuke had to cover, Deidara was only able to react once he began to slow down. Following this, Sasuke attempts to hit Deidara from behind, and Deidara would have died here, and he was unaware of Sasuke's presence completely until Tobi screamed for him to look out. Even then, with Tobi's assistance, he was only able to fire a bomb out of his right hand, not even evade, dodge, turn around, nothing. Even Deidara remarks that I somehow escaped hidden in the bomb blast, which this is important for later, but just pocket this piece for now. But moving back to my consistency, we can see that once Deidara is on the C2 Dragon, Sasuke is at an even more substantial distance, and does the same sword blitz, and Deidara was only able to react at the last distance. So I would actually consider this a blitz on Sasuke's part due to the distance covered and the lack of reaction from Deidara during that time frame. It would also be at this point where Deidara realizes that he cannot contest Sasuke's speed any longer and resorts to flying out of Sasuke's 5-meter attack range and placing landmines underground to catch him off guard, or hopefully to catch him off guard. Now, for the first bit of combat speed relevancy, Deidara cannot combat Sasuke in any sense if it's not for a gigantic distance. Now, the only thing that is relative to Sasuke is the bomb's explosion velocities, which, remember when I said pocket that stuff earlier? Well, that was a direct instance of Deidara being incapable of also reacting to their explosion velocities. So even with a bomb greater than the one that blitzed Deidara, Sasuke was capable of reacting to that as well, only being caught off guard by the tracking effect it had in C2. So once Sasuke went into the curse mark, he was still contending with the bomb's explosion velocities and was still, again, significantly above Deidara in combat speed. So I would say that Deidara could potentially utilize a C4 on Sasuke, but we already saw how that went literally in the character. So again, to summarize, Sasuke is capable of slaughtering Deidara in combat speed and can contend with C3, which is stated to be the pinnacle of explosions in Data Book 3, meaning it would also be above the bombs to outscale Deidara as well. So, however, for Deidara, I do think that Taka Sasuke or Killer B fight MS Sasuke would kill Deidara. Reason being is that yes, Curse Mark Heavy or just Base Heavy is above Taka, but Deidara is not relative to him, so Taka should win, considering he also has a Madarasu, which kind of hard counters Deidara's flying or that type of his style of fighting, which, again, was, the only way that he was able to ever combat Sasuke was by flying and dropping bombs, so the Amaterasu just kind of counters that, being able to actually fire out of his eye. So Taka Sasuke should beat Deidara. Moving on to Kakazu, this one's also quite intriguing. Now, I won't get into the Kakazu versus Deidara debate, as that's its own can of worms. So, how strong is Kakazu? Well, it's kind of complicated, and I suppose we'll look at the Yu-Gi-To higher scaling first. So, essentially, the main spaghetti argument for Kakazu is that Kakazu is capable of reacting and tanking a transformed Yu-Gi-To's Paul Strike, which can scale to Killer B. This is wrong for a few reasons. First being the manner in which Yu-Gi-To or Matatabi actually attacks here. So in the initial double spread page, it's shown that Kakazu and Hidan are standing next to each other in front of Yu-Gi-To with her paws in the air at her around her midsection. Then Yu-Gi-To's right arm pulls back behind her head to strike, and then Kakazu has his hands up and gets slammed into the ground. Which is the reason as to why this is important is that Yu-Gi-To doesn't directly engage in the strike when he reacts, rather primes her swipe back, meaning that he wouldn't actively be reacting to the strike. Think of it like this, right? Me and you are in a boxing ring, and you're in front of me with your hands up, and you see me cock my right hand back for the absolute meanest right hand possible. You can then block, even though my punch is yet to be in motion, you just know in which way it will be fired and to move. So essentially, this doesn't really do anything for Kakazu's speed, as he's not really reacting to the physical combat speed itself. Now, as for Kakazu tanking it, sure. However, Kakazu's AP would not really scale to this, since we're usually under the assumption that manga panels dictate a passage of time. So with that amount of time said, that Kakazu was holding the paw is completely unknown, so for all we know, it just went straight through and into the ground. So using this for Kakazu is rather disingenuous, and even if you get it past this, we know that during the war, the Rinnegan and Sharingan projection amps made her fight much differently, as noted by B, so taking that clash wouldn't really do much, since she's And she also wasn't the first Jinchuriki to strike KCM1 Naruto, which is the feat that many people like to bring up. So, Naruto was still in the middle of recovering, and then he tanked her attack. So, how strong is Kakazu really? Well, if you subscribe to that line of scaling, then 5 Kage Summon Sasuke should still be enough. But if not, as I kind of refuted that, we know that yes, Kakazu is a really interesting fighter, but Kakashi, Choji, and Shikamaru were all able to react to most of his attacks, which is consistent, as we know that Kakazu and Hidan react equally and are shown relative in speeds in nearly almost every instance, and I'll just pop all this up on screen here. And again, with Heavy Sasuke's best attribute being speed, there's really not much of a way to say that Kakazu could keep up speed-wise. If you're actually being generous, his hearts are very impressive, such as the Syrian Migraine, overpowering Kakashi's Water Style, and False Darkness, equaling out the potency of a double Raikiri. But we know the actual raw durability of the hearts themselves is lower than Kakashi's singular Raikiri, and there are many things in Heavy Sasuke's arsenal that could deal with them, whether it's the snakes, lightning blade, or maybe something like Kirin. The hearts aren't really going to be doing all that much. However, Taka Sasuke actually may not be able to beat this Kakazu due to how bad his stamina truly is. And yes, he may be above him in physical stats or whatnot, but Amaterasu being able to slaughter any heart would just be true. But Kakazu's endurance is probably a little too much, considering how Sasuke was so fatigued in his fight with B. So Kakazu might be able to out-endurance that heavy, or not that heavy, sorry, but that Taka Sasuke that fought B, especially if he does happen to use the MS to take out those hearts. So, for Kakazu, I'd say that heavy Sasuke would have to fight him, and heavy Sasuke probably wins, like, mid-diff. Moving past that, our next combatant is Sasori. So, how strong is Sasori? Well, we know he obviously has that higher interpretation scaling as well, and let's be honest, we've all heard it. But I suppose since I talked about Kakazu's high scaling, I also need to discuss Sasori's as well. Sasori the Red Sand earned his reputation due to his sheer amount of kills that he earned in war. However, his most infamous hit was on the third Kazekage, the Kazekage who was hailed among all as the strongest Kazekage ever. This is corroborated numerous times. The third databook describes it as Sasori strived for a newer, more powerful puppet, so he set his eyes on the third Kazekage, who was called the strongest shinobi. On a separate page, it states that outright that he was the strongest Kazekage ever. The dictionary section of the third data book also states the same thing. So, obviously the manga also says it as well. So straight up, the third Kazekage would be above both the Kage preceding him and Rasa as well. Which you could also wank the strongest shinobi statement to go with, and just purely based on reputation, Minato was alive at this time, as the third Kazekage didn't disappear until around 10 years ago prior to Shippuden, when it's about 16 years when Minato died. But asserting reputation is a one-on-one comparison in regards to power, that would also be wrong. So then people try to argue that Rasa was able to equal out Gaara-san, which is capable of blitzing the bloodlusted version 2 Raikage in the Gokage Summit. Now, this is wrong since we know that Gaara and Rasa's clash happens very briefly, and when it actually happens, we get a note by the third Raikage claiming that Rasa's sand actually contains gold in it. Then Rasa fires his sand up, Gaara stalemates it, waits for the alliance to get over the hill, and then just casually overpowers it and brings this down. Which means that Gaara's sand produces a greater amount of force, even though Rasa's sand has more mass and an inherent advantage in the force equation. Which, if you want to argue that they are equal, then you would have to concede the idea that Rasa's sand is on the same tier of speed, since in order for them to be equal, it's established that Rasa's has a higher mass, therefore Gaara's would also have to have an overwhelming acceleration speed and advantage. So, it just wouldn't scale to the sand speed that blitzed the fourth Raikage. Even then, however, does Sasori actually scale to the third Kazekage? Well, not exactly. I say this due to every statement we get regarding how he actually brought him down is drenched in ambiguity. So the first statement is by a random claiming that she is basically unsure how such a strong man would be killed with such ease, which she doesn't really know the context, so we can't really use this, as it could very well have just been Sasori poisoning him in his sleep. So Sasori states that this one was a hard one to finish. Now this is actually in reference to the puppet process, more than likely. So since for one, we don't really know the context to how they truly fought and if they did, or two, the third Kazekage doesn't scale to where people put him. So let's just kind of analyze his fight with Sakura, in which Sakura is able to perceive him in almost every instance, which in the Tenchi Bridge reconnaissance arc, heavy Sasuke in base prior to absorbing Orochimaru. Perception blitzes her just straight up. So for this one, again, I think that the weaker B fight Sasuke should be enough, since we know that Orochimaru's absorption helped a lot and should be a blitz level difference. Since we know that Sasuke is fighting B, he required Suigetsu Jugo to save him in several instances, even though when he had Orochimaru, he was actually perception blitzing them in base. Now, we do know that heavy Sasuke does have Orochimaru's poison's resistance. Now, of course, we have no idea to what level it's even effective against, but the B fight MS Sasuke lost that, so if the Iron Sand were to touch him, Sasuke would just die. And it may still happen to Heavy as well, but the Iron Sand is covered in Sasori's lethal poison that even Chiyo was unsure how to counter. When she was constantly able to dismantle Hanzo the Salamander's poison in literal minutes, which contextually this is low-key crazy, since the Iron Sand is already stated by Chiyo to be the most feared weapon in all of Suna, meaning that it would be more deadly and more feared than Shikaku, even with every grain being coated with a one-tap poison on top of that. So the Iron Sand is quite crazy, and if it were to hit Sasuke, it would be just completely over. But Sasuke does have access to his MS in this form. Only Amaterasu But still, Amaterasu will be capable of burning the Iron Sand since it's hailed as in more than one median to actually be the strongest of all physical attacks. So, I mean that, Sasuke should want to test that out, similar to how he did in his fight with B. So for this one, I would say that B fight MS Sasuke wins against Sasori high diff. Finally, the last Akatsuki member before we get to the main big three, Kisame, the tailless-tailed beast. So Kisame's comparison is by far the most simplistic yet complicated, since we know they both fight Killer B within the span of literally 50 chapters, but it is quite complex. So I've actually considered making a whole Kisame versus B fight analysis, since I feel that fight is just mostly misread, or most people just tend to read it wrong overall, or just generally misremember how the Kisame fight actually went. Well, what do I mean? Well, to start off, we know that Kisame is actually holding back with the goal of capturing B alive rather than flat out killing him. And that's a shame, since B says that he will actually kill Kisame. However, this is also just a lie, as we know that B has to hold back since he can't use his full moveset due to Ponta and Sabu, his rap buddies, being there as well, as he also felt more free without Raikage A supervising him, so he can't use all of his bigger techniques because he doesn't want to hurt them, and he doesn't want to notify A of his position. Now, this is where things get interesting. So it starts off with B wanting to gauge and test how Kisame actually reacts and combats attacks via firing a Raiton enhanced pencil at Kisame's head, to which he dodges. However, this cannot be backscaled to base B, as we know there are many other external forces that are in play here with the pencil's velocity, such as bullet drop, wind drag, and accuracy. Kisame's response to that, he decides that it was smart and does it himself via throwing Samehada at B's lower half, to which B just jumps over as well, which this cannot be backscaled as well due to the same reasons. Then again, B wants to test the reaction pattern again, but instead has Sabu use his big pseudo axe and swing at Kisame, uses a non-charged and a charged Raiton blade aiming for his shoulder, while B charges in front to again test his reaction. Kisame was overwhelmed here in his normal physical combat speed, with his shoulder getting injured. However, Samehada actually pulled his weight and reacted for him. However, it is noted a little later that Kisame was actually confident in taking the Raiton blade because he would just be able to absorb the Raiton chakra off of it and then heal the wound with that chakra. B then decides that he is done testing Kisame and goes instantly into version 2 of his Beast Cloak, which could illuminate the idea that B was uncomfortable fighting Kisame at base. B then charges at Kisame with a stiff arm blade, and Samehada actually reacts, moves under B, and then strikes the hand and absorbs tons of chakra. Now, yes, I could go on forever, but essentially what we get from this fight is that Samehada is actually the real speedster here, not Kisame. So, in base with Samehada, Kisame should be above base B and relative to the version 2B who tried to headbutt him. This is particularly paramount as we know that B is constantly training. Some could say that that's like, training is his thing, it's like his stick, right? It's literally like what B was doing on the first page that he's introduced. B is the one who makes the notorious statement of that fighting makes you stronger. So if you don't know where I'm getting at, it's been like 60 chapters, give or take, since the Sasuke encounter. So B would definitely be stronger than the one who's writing rap lyrics, and dancing on Sasuke. We could even see that like version 2B here was able to completely blitz Sasuke. So Kisame would definitely be above this Sasuke. So which Sasuke would actually be required to bring down the shark monster? Well, to decide this, or to decide whether it's 5 Kage Summit Sasuke or Heavy Sasuke, I guess, well, pretty much it's implied that Sasuke surpassed the curse mark version of himself in the early part of the 5 Kage Summit, near like the V1A part of the fight. And we know that during the Kisame encounter, B and Raikage A are very much relative, doing the lariats at the same speed. So since A and V2 and Sasuke with the MS are hyper relative, with Sasuke's perception being slightly faster, I would definitely say that 5 Kage Summit Sasuke should be enough, as during the Danzo fight, Sasuke has access to the version 3 Susanoo, and Kisame doesn't really have any answers to that. So even if you do want to argue that Kisame would be relative to that, then sure, if you go off the Raikage stuff and the Beast going for sure, but then Sasuke in the Danzo fight has access to the Susanoo arrow, which is above his normal combat or even his Susanoo combat speed, since the Danzo that could react and combat Sasuke, whether it was with his vacuum style or whatever, but whenever the Susanoo arrow is fired, he's just completely done. So Kisame is more than likely, he kind of just gets beaten by a 5 Kage Summit Sasuke, and I would say mid to high diff, only due to the bubble and the fuse form may pose a threat. We don't really know how Sasuke would interact with the water, but he may be able to just, shock the god out of Kisame if he uses like Kirin or something, if you subscribe to that. So anyway, yeah, I would just probably give this to, 5 Kage Summon, again, mid to high diff. So the next bit is actually quite interesting, which is Itachi, Pain, and of course Obito. Which I don't want to delve too much into Itachi and Pain all too much, as I'm sure you've heard me say before that I do have a big project dropping at 1,000 subs. So, in regards to illustrating my opinion on the difference between Itachi and Pain, holding back those, and simply saying that Pain, Itachi, and Obito all slam 5 Kage Summon Sasuke and lose to EMS Sasuke is probably the best route. So, just how strong is EMS Sasuke? Well, EMS Sasuke is really interesting and has potentially the fastest form in growth in the entire series. And what do I mean? Well, the reason I say this, and the reason why I chose EMS Sasuke, is because of how much he actually develops throughout the war. So we know that in the very early portion of the war, like straight after obtaining the EMS, Sasuke states that he has already grown stronger and is now already a rival to an Edo Itachi who's completely suppressed, which is still crazy due to him being able to combat and deal with Sage Mode Kabuto rather quickly. And after this, he's immediately displayed outperforming KCM 1.5 Naruto and Jubito in the Jubito fight. This is shown when Sasuke uses Susanoo to react to Jubito and save Naruto, who is about to get shot whilst in midair. Or whilst the infamous Tobirama feat, you could see that in the background, Sasuke's Susanoo is actually progressing a full hand to protect himself and Naruto. Sasuke is then able to actually match this Naruto's speed, utilizing a perfect combination of attacks that even Tobirama has to remark is on the level of a seasoned duo. So Sasuke is above this Naruto, but not much longer after this, EMS Sasuke is shown relative to BSM Naruto. Literally less than 10 chapters later, Sasuke is shown with legs on his Susanoo equaling out BSM Naruto in speed. So at best, you could argue that Obito is KCM 2 level in speed if you take that, Naruto needed the 9 tails to be mastered in order to beat him. So this EMS Sasuke would just be that clear step above the top 3 in the Akatsuki by a whole stage mode difference at least. Which is quite interesting because that means that, when everybody, hates on and disregards the third data book as a whole for stating that Heavy Sasuke has speed surpassing the Akatsuki, even, it's really not that far off, as I just kind of displayed why Heavy can actually beat a lot of the members, like most of them, and they're kind of just not really on that high level of speed, besides for the main top ones. Again, I do want to apologize for not going too in-depth, on, the Obito, Itachi, and Pain section, since I do have an Itachi versus Pain video coming, and I don't really want to compare them too much to Obito, as that is really important. So yeah, again, I figured this topic was quite interesting. Again, so if you really do want to know about Orochimaru versus Sasuke, then just go check that whole video out. I go in depth on that there, and I would appreciate that. And again, I also do have an Itachi versus Pain video dropping at 1K, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think I underrated the Akatsuki, or maybe I downplayed Sasuke? Either way, be sure to leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on the matter. Do you think that Heavy Sasuke could destroy Pain, or maybe Kakazu beats up a full power 5 Kage Summon Sasuke? Anyway, let me know. And as always, love you guys.